Hi, welcome to Tuesdays with Erika on the Ability 411. So this week we're talking about, we had a viewer write into us and ask us from a caregiver's point of view, like a physical therapist, nurse, doctor, etc. Point of view, what are some things that we wish we could have had changed or would have had during rehab and the early stages of our disability or injury. And for me, that's actually something that I spoke about when speaking to caregivers. My rehab experience, I can't say it was all bad because it wasn't, but knowing what I know now, it could have been a lot better. I think I could have been more well educated. But then again, I think about it and I'm like, maybe just part of my state of mind. I wasn't ready to be educated. I wasn't willing to accept my new life, as I've talked about before in past videos, as well as I was not. Yeah, I wasn't happy at all about having to learn anything about being in a chair. So it could have been me, which, that caused my rehab experience to be what it was, as well as having people that weren't as educated. In rehab, with my experience in rehab was, they were so busy trying to teach me how to do the activities of daily living and take care of myself and move around in my chair and the whole occupational therapy, being able to reach things and do stuff in the kitchen and that kind of stuff, that I feel like they didn't focus as much on the fact that I was very newly injured. And I was still, I was in a coma for 2.5 months and then wake up and they're like, surprise, you won't be able to walk and we're going to teach you all this stuff so we can send you home. And so I feel like they focus more on, the physical part, and not as much on the emotional. And so, I've said in the past when speaking to physical therapists or, people that were training to be physical therapists, you're going to come across patients that are going to have a bad attitude and going to be very upset and not dealing well emotionally. And I'm sure that happens probably more so than just in my case. But, be in tune to the fact that this person, it's probably not that they don't have respect for what you're teaching them. And it might just be that they're not willing to accept that this is going to be their life and that they're going to have to learn to do the things that you're trying to teach them. Not only are they physically exhausted because their body's healing, and, even if they're appearing okay, I mean, still on the inside, you're healing, and that takes a lot of energy from you. Not to mention somebody like in my case, I was in a coma for 2.5 months. So for 2.5 months, I was asleep. My body wasn't doing anything. So for me to even sit up for a length of time, even if it was a half hour, was a lot for me. I remember getting really lightheaded and just so tired, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I wanted to lay in my bed and I wanted to grieve, and I guess looking back now, it was a positive thing that they didn't allow me to just lay in my bed and grieve. Instead they pissed me off, which in turn was what motivated me and was like, I was like just ready to get out of this hospital. And, it helps me in my personal life. Again, I've spoke about that quite a bit in my videos. But, at the same time, I think that the first physical therapist that I had, I think he took it personally because I was not nice. I was a bitch. I mean, like capital B. And, I don't want to learn this. I don't need to learn this. I don't care about what you're teaching me. Let me pop a wheelie real quick so I can go get back in my bed and lay down because I don't feel good. That was how I was at that point. And although he didn't let me do that, he at sometimes would cuss right back at me, and I needed that. As an individual and the person that I am, that is what I needed. But I wish that he would have been a little more in tune to the fact that, it wasn't personal attack. It wasn't that I didn't want to get better. It was that I was grieving. And, so also one big thing, and I know from, my friends that are newerly injured or yeah, whatever you want to say, haven't been injured as long as I have, that are more new to it, that now stretching and, the physical therapy part of being injured is stressed a lot more. When I was in rehab, I was actually told that I couldn't lay on my stomach. So for a long time, I was terrified to lay on my stomach. Like, I don't want to mess anything up. I've got some rods and all kinds of good hardware in my back, and God, I don't want to go through that again. So I'm not going to lay on my stomach. They told me not to. Now knowing 10 years later that I should have been laying on my stomach from the beginning, because that would have helped me not get contracted in my hip flexors. Contracted meaning that my muscles have actually tightened and shortened. So I can't lay flat on my stomach. Physically, I can't. Granted, I'm working on it right now. I've got a really, really awesome friend who, Coco, her name is Coco, who is a physical therapist. And, we actually, a trip that I just did to Florida, a surfing trip, we started working together, and she showed me some really good ways to try to get those stretched out without having to have surgery. But that should have never happened. Stretching was not, it wasn't stressed to me how important it was. I mean, I was told it was important to stretch your legs and your feet, whatever. But, it wasn't stressed to me to the point, like, if you don't do this, you're not going to be able to straighten out. And so I think that's really, really important. On top of, like I said, just being more in tune to the person you're working with, whether you're the nurse, whether you're the therapist, occupational therapist, PT, whatever it is, just be in tune to the fact that, like I said, that person's grieving. And not everybody shows it. When my family and friends would come visit me, I was all smiles and I'm like, I got this, life goes on, da 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 da, and but in the inside, not so much. I was angry, I was upset, I wanted my friends and my family to think, this is still the same Erika, she's gonna do just fine and be great. But on the inside, I was dying. I was like, okay, like, somebody let me out of this body, like, this is not my life, this can't be life. And yeah, so sometimes even I know that I was a healthcare professional before I was injured. I was in nursing, and I know that from a professional standpoint, you're not supposed to get really personal and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, for working with people who are newly injured, or newly disabled, like, that's a very important thing, is learn their story, learn them as an individual, so that better how to work with them and how to approach them and how to do, the things that they're going to need to know just to be able to perform activities of daily living. Because they might not be in tune to learning. They might not be ready to accept. And, some people never get there. I'm so thankful to my friends, my family, God, to everything, that I got out of that. And, I'm now living the amazing, blessed life that I'm living. But it could have gone the other way very easily. And I've met a lot of people, actually, who either have a loved one or are that person themselves, who never really moved past that, and it's sad to me, because it's like, wow, you're wasting your life because of so much negative energy, and there's so much positive out there, so that's my take. I hope that this helps, and keep the questions coming. This was awesome. We get so excited when we get, people write in and say, hey, like, I have this specific thing that I want to know. And, that helps us do our job. That's what we're here for. We want feedback. So email us, ability411@gmail.com. We're looking forward to it. And until next Tuesday, keep rolling.